OneShot. It's the game with the most positive Steam reviews I've ever seen. 97%. I've never seen a game get such positive feedback from a community before. People said it truly impacted them emotionally, in a way that no other game could. People praise its creativity and how it really makes you feel like part of the story. People love the beautiful soundtrack and the amazing puzzle gameplay. What if I told you that every Steam reviewer is actually dumb as fuck? OneShot is the single worst game I've ever played. Let me tell you a few reasons why. 1. The story. Like I said before, everyone praises OneShot for its gripping, emotionally engaging story. So what is that story? You're a cat. You get a light bulb. You put it in a tower. Yep, that's about it. The game has no story until the very end. For the first 3 zones of the game, which there are only 4, you talk to some random characters here and there, and they say absolutely nothing of consequence. They don't do that great of a job highlighting the consequences that the absence of the sun, the light bulb you're carrying, has on their community either. There's absolutely no way to get attached to them, like all these Steam reviewers seem to, when they only have 10 lines of dialogue and a few minutes of the plot to themselves. Granted, I'm not really sure how you could even get attached to a video game character anyway. Maybe I'm just not gamer enough. The only real antagonist is this computer that talks to you kind of threateningly about you only having 1 shot, but the fact that it gives you puzzle hints kind of ruins that effect. The end of the game then must be really climactic or emotional, right? After all, the main character is the one you speak to for the entire game. You must at least care about what happens to it, right? In reality, you just walk around a tower for 10 minutes, and then some unexplained character talks complete nonsense to you through the game's companion app. It's all extremely cryptic. It kinda explains the enemy of the world, known as the Entity, and it also explains what is waiting for you at the top of the tower, very vaguely. Of course, none of this was really established beforehand. It was only kinda hinted at by the computer I mentioned before. But after that, you have your 1 shot the entire game has been building up to. You can either let the cat die and restore the sun to the world, or save the cat and leave the world to wither. The fact that you can't do both really just seems to be a lame attempt at an ending plot twist to at least have some tension in the story. But, as is to be expected at this point, your actions have absolutely no consequences. They show a few random images of what happens to the world, with some locations you've been to or characters you've seen, and that's really about it. Actually, on my playthrough, the game crashed before that slideshow played, and I didn't know I missed anything, but knowing now, I don't really feel any different. When you can't even care about the characters in the first place, why should it matter what happens to them? I'm going to draw comparisons to Undertale for a second, because it's the most similar game I've played. Much like OneShot, you spend most of that game's runtime walking around a map talking to characters. However, the big difference is that your choices when interacting with them actually feel impactful. How you treat the characters, and even the basic enemies throughout the game, impacts what ending you'll get. The characters form meaningful relationships with both the player and each other, which creates far more immersion. The characters also reappear at different times of the story, instead of just once throughout, which makes the story feel cohesive instead of episodic and disjointed. Basically, OneShot's story is just trash. If you like it, you're actually wrong. Sorry. 2. The puzzles. The puzzles are complete non-gameplay. People defend it by saying, no, the game isn't supposed to have good gameplay because it's story-based. They're not focusing on that. Since when were good stories and good gameplay mutually exclusive? I didn't know I was signing up to play a visual novel here. The puzzles consist of picking up an item and bringing it to another item. It's very unclear what the item's purposes are until you walk around the mostly empty map for an hour and find something that might fit with one of the items you already have. This is why I really struggle to call these puzzles, because they require no thought, knowledge of game mechanics, or creative thinking. For me, they meant either brute forcing it or looking for a guide. Shoutouts to this guide, by the way, I used it for the entire playthrough. This lack of gameplay was so extreme that the two parts of the game that had a semblance of actual gameplay felt like a breath of fresh air. There was one puzzle where you had to maneuver some goats around obstacles, as well as one of those memory puzzles where you decode a randomized color sequence. When puzzles that basic and shitty feel like great gameplay relative to the rest of the game, are you even making a game? Like, seriously, is OneShot a game? Again, let's compare the game to Undertale. That game had a few real puzzles that were far better than anything OneShot offers. They felt like things to make the game more fun, while OneShot's puzzles just exist to make the game qualify as a game. But I hardly remember the puzzles because the game had surprisingly deep combat as well, including ways to end all fights by sparing instead of killing the enemy. Undertale is a shining example of how to make one of those story-based, walking simulator type of games both fun and of quality. 3. The aesthetics. This is among the ugliest games ever made. The color palettes are unappealing, the building and character models are bland and repetitive, and all of the landscapes in every area look exactly the same. Obviously they vary from area to area, but you don't progress through areas that quickly, so it really does become dry. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, let's take a quick look at the game's starting area, the Barrens. Right away, you'll notice the ugly purple color palette, but that's far from the worst thing about this area. The real problem is the models repeating over and over and over again. See this factory? Here it is again. And here it is again. And here it is again. Oh, one more time. Oh, and also, see this train? There it is again. And there it is again. I think you get the point, especially if you notice the pool and gas vent models repeating too. The one place where this ugliness doesn't apply is the still images that show during transitions between areas and other supposedly important events. These actually do look quite nice with some great pixel art, but still images, believe it or not, are not actually part of the game. Wow, shouldn't the actual game be prioritized over random images? Just because your game was made in RPG Maker doesn't mean it needs to look ugly. There are games made with it that look way better. This really just isn't excusable for what should be a professional developer. I suppose while talking about the aesthetics, I should also talk about the music. The music is a failed attempt at ambient music that just has the same 3 notes repeating over and over with some weak-ass drums underneath. Somehow makes the game even more boring. Just listen to it. The fourth wall breaks, aka the malware. The game's biggest feature is its gameplay outside of the game. It's supposed to be super meta and cool, but of course, like everything else, it's just annoying. Some examples of truly groundbreaking things the game does. Going to sleep force closes the game. You have to use a separate app to see where to go in the tower section. You have to look for passwords in your documents folder. Your wallpaper will change to reveal hints to puzzles, and it may or may not change back. And my personal favorite, During random points of the game, you can't close the game. Not even with Task Manager. It's just not possible. One other gameplay mechanic really put me over the edge of this game. At the entrance to the tower at the end of the game, the ground is a big red X. Take a quick guess what that means. You have to click the red X that closes the game to progress. By this point, I was really wondering if the game itself even wanted me to play it. The reason why these fourth wall breaks are in the game story-wise is, again, really interesting to the Steam reviewers, but kinda meaningless to me. Your role in the story is the god controlling this cat, who is the Messiah because it has the sun. You have to speak to the cat, and it talks back to you, the player. It all feels kinda cheesy to me, but it is one of the few mechanics I can understand someone liking, because it is pretty original and creative. 5. The post-game. The game doesn't open after you beat it. I literally spent 2 weeks trying to figure out how to open the game again. But guys, it's funny because you only have one shot, get it? If that was true, maybe it would be game design. Well, not good game design, but at least intentional. But no, you can play it again, but you have to delete your save file that's hidden in your documents folder. You can only figure that out if you look in the companion app that's only used once in the game. So you can only figure it out if you look up a guide, just like everything else in the game. So the post-game is figuring out how to open the fucking game again. You can ask the group chats I'm in for how many times I screen shared myself trying a million things to open the game again. I even went and deleted the entire Steam installation for the game. On second thought, why did I reinstall it after that? No, there actually is a post-game called The Solstice Ending, but I didn't play that. If the base game is this terrible, why should I feel motivated to play another ending, even if it is better? 6. The dollar, I mean community. The community is concerned about one thing and one thing only. What is the cat's gender? Nico gender. Nico's gender. Arguing about Nico's gender. Nico poll. Is Nico a boy or a girl? Nico is a girl. Fight me. I'm bored, so... Nico is male or female? Nico is a boy? The responses are just as passionate as the people asking. Not even gonna bother to get into those, you can look at them yourself. Maybe someday I'll know why they care so much about this fucking cat that you kill in one of the endings anyway. I feel like I've said all there really is to say about this god-awful game. I really hope there are some of those die-hard fans watching this video, because I really want to understand why the overwhelming majority absolutely loves this game. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I need to play that Solstice ending to really get the full experience. Let me know in the comments how you felt about this game if you've played it. If you haven't played, I'd honestly still recommend buying it, because you'll probably be in that 97% who love it just by probability. I'm not usually a contrarian, this is probably one of the least popular opinions that I hold. But even if you feel like I do about this game, you'll get an experience so terrible that it's unparalleled by any other game. As someone who loves to play bad games, I don't really regret playing this game, but I do regret that I had to play it again to get footage. OneShot is a solid 1 out of 10 for me.